Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and Nissan has entirely redesigned one of their best sellers, the Murano, for the 2025 model year. Murano had gone a long time without seeing any meaningful refreshes, but finally we've got entirely new styling. We've got a new engine, new transmission, of course new wheels, and a beautiful interior. But I've been spending the week with the car, and I've got some pros and cons for you, so let's dig right on into a little overview of the car and talk about what I've liked and not liked. Now, I should mention, if you do want to see more on the Murano, check the link below. We've got a fuel economy test and a sound system test on the Bose audio system. You can find those linked below. Coming into the back here, we can see actually a remarkably high load surface, coming up about above mid-thigh for me, something that you'd have to lift on up over, but at least it's smooth right here. And this one comes with these optional cargo Velcro items. It's kind of cool there. A little bit of an underfloor area with, is it a compact spare? Or is it simply, no, it's not. You can get an optional compact spare on the Nissan accessory site in the build configured area, but this is just the Bose subwoofer with an inflation kit, storage elements right there. If we reach, well, we don't actually have to reach way forward to fold the seats. You can fold them right here, theoretically, I guess maybe. Still got to give it a little encouragement. Will this one go? There we go, that one goes all right. And you can see quite a good amount of cargo space. And this is something that people in this class appreciate. I find that a lot of these two-row mid-size crossovers are driven by individuals who are honestly often just driving them on their own, but occasionally they need to put big things in there, and they just like having a vehicle that has the space when they need it, even if they're not using it all that frequently. Coming into the back, you can see the doors don't have the largest opening. It's not exactly a kid-focused family-type vehicle. In fact, I don't think Nissan really intends these back seats to be used all that often. They don't have any different sort of recline levels, but you can at least flip down this, maybe, this center armrest, get some cup holders, squishy place to put your elbows. This Platinum model does have heated seats in the back, as well as air vents, 2 USB-C ports, and pretty easy to access latch anchors right there. Like to see that. But not a remarkable amount of room. This seat is moved all the way back, to be fair. It has a power automatic adjust seat. You can see over there. There's enough room for me at 5'10". Absolutely have headroom. It's just not the most spacious given the class. Then coming into the front, you can see the rest of this beautiful two-tone leather interior, along with some kind of metallic-y looking bits, dark plastics. We do have some piano black in the front center area. That's not going to age very well, but other than that, I really like the combination of the cross stitching and the two different leathers. It does make this a nice place to be. For those of you who are so inclined, let's take a quick look at this engine. This is rocking a 2-liter turbocharged motor paired up to a 9-speed automatic transmission. Oh, and we have hood struts there. Very nice. This is Nissan's variable compression ratio turbocharged inline 4. We've seen this on the Altima and the Infiniti QX50 and 55. Essentially, it can change the compression ratio for more efficiency or more power. And we're going to talk quite a bit about that motor today. I don't love it. Spoiler alert. We're going to start off with the cons. And the first 4 cons are all relatively minor, because I do enjoy this car. But the 5th and last one is a borderline deal breaker for me. It doesn't kill the car, but it does make it much more difficult for me to recommend it. And the first is, if we come back here, I don't think we're actually going to be able to see anything, but if we were to put a tow hitch on the Murano here, even though it's a mid-size crossover, your tow rating is limited to 1,500 pounds, or that would be 150 pounds on the hitch. So you're really not doing any sort of meaningful towing with this car, despite it making quite a bit of power, and despite many of its class competitors being able to do up to 3,500 pounds, maybe even 4,000 pounds, a few of them out there, for this sort of size of vehicle. 1,500 is quite low. Next con, coming in the inside here, a few of them. First off, no camera rear view mirror for this Platinum model. And I actually did a quick double check to make sure that it wasn't some sort of Nissan dealer accessory or anything, but from what I can tell, no camera rear view mirror offered, even on this Platinum trim. And at this price point, it's something that I'm becoming more and more expectant for a vehicle about, over $50,000 and kind of this size. Once people have a camera rearview mirror, many of them don't want to go back to a conventional one, and it's not the largest opening back there anyway. So I would like to see camera rearview mirror. Next, the steering wheel position. Even if I put it all the way down, bring it out somewhere comfortable for me, it's remarkably high up. I find myself, if I'm driving at 10 and 2 with my arms way up above my chest, it's not a particularly comfortable steering wheel position. I would like it to go a good bit lower. Now, I do actually kind of appreciate that there's no bottom pillar right here or spoke to get in the way of my hands, but I don't like how high the steering wheel is. And I didn't particularly care for it in the new Armada either, so it seems to be something with a few of these newer Nissans. My next con, I'll actually turn the vehicle on here so you guys can see a little bit better, but the screen is very far away. They have these nice two 12.3-inch screens, one for infotainment, one for the gauge cluster, but sitting here at my 5'10" driving position, the screen is so far it requires me to reach way up and tap around on it to do my interactions. Technically speaking, you can control most screens using the steering wheel, but it takes a lot of getting used to. And I much prefer when vehicles have screens that are closer. It makes everything easier to see and easier to touch, and in my opinion, safer. For our last con, we've got to start the Murano up and bring to life this 2-liter turbo. Now, I want to start right off by saying I do appreciate that Nissan is no longer using a CVT. We've got a conventional transmission in here. That's great. Also, I have no inherent issues with 2-liter turbos. Many vehicles are swapping out larger V6s for 2-liter turbos, and many of them work quite well. We had a 2-liter turbo in our Ford Maverick, made similar-ish power figures to this car, and was great. However, the variable compression ratio technology, along with the turbocharging, results in a lethargic driving experience. Sometimes you wait way too long for power to come online and start motivating this engine, or the vehicle, whether it needs to downshift or build up boost or change compression ratio. They say the compression ratio can change very, very quickly, within well less than a second. So I don't think that's the issue. So I don't know if it's a matter of the turbo or what the deal is, but I'm going to try to put the car in a few scenarios today while we're driving to show you some of my frustrations I've had. There was a specific example, even driving here today, where my lane was ending and the car next to me was going well below the speed limit, so I wanted to get up in front of them, and putting my foot down and getting up to speed, there was about a second delay before the car started accelerating. It was very frustrating. Then there's also this situation and phenomenon where I put my foot at a specific position on the accelerator, taking off, and then all of a sudden it surges forward and accelerates more dramatically, increasing, even though I haven't changed where my foot is on the accelerator. And there were situations I was driving around with Alyssa. She said, "Why are you driving so aggressively?" And I said, "I'm not. The car just is very hard to drive smoothly." Now, we see this happen in turbocharged motors from time to time, but making a smooth and refined 2-liter turbo here in 2025 shouldn't be rocket science, and Nissan has built plenty of vehicles. I feel for them in that they have this variable compression ratio technology, and theoretically speaking, it should give you both power and efficiency in one product. But this engine is not very fuel efficient. This car in general, we saw, I think, 27 miles per gallon on our highway fuel economy test. That's what the EPA gives it. In the city, you're going to be getting mid to low 20s at best. And then you're dealing with this engine that, yes, makes a good amount of peak power when you do really put your foot down and get strong acceleration out of it. It's good. It is powerful. But you got to work so hard to get that power out. That's full tilt. Yeah, it really gets up and gets going, but it takes a while to get that power online. And then that also leads me into lamenting the fact that we don't have any sort of electrified option here for the Murano. I would love to see some sort of just simple, just hybrid. Doesn't need to be a plug-in, doesn't need to be a full EV, anything like that, nothing crazy. Just give me a hybrid powertrain in here that bumps the fuel economy up to high 20s in the city, and maybe we could squeeze out 30 on the highway depending on how the hybrid system is helping it out. It's a shame that we've got this supposedly beneficial technology in the variable compression ratio, but yet what advantages are we really seeing over any of the other competitors, really? If I were Nissan, I would try to partner up with some other company and get their hands on some sort of hybrid option for the Murano. Throw it in there. It would be smoother. It would be probably quieter in a lot of environments. Maybe not more powerful, but much more fuel efficient. And I think the type of driver in a Murano is going to appreciate more of that calm, smooth, efficient powertrain over something that can pull themselves from a stoplight in under 7 seconds. Coming back for my first pro on the Murano, and that is the sizing. I think this is a very nice sized vehicle for kind of what I was saying earlier. People who maybe don't use the back seats on a daily basis. They're not necessarily using it as a full-time family machine. Maybe they've got older kids that are only driving around with them sometimes, but mostly just want a vehicle that is very capable for whatever life might throw at you. Maybe you're loading a dog up into the back regularly. You could be doing bicycles. Maybe you're just somebody who likes to pick things up off the side of the road from time to time. And you like knowing that the vehicle that you're driving around has the space to do with it what you need to, but you don't need something like a full body-on-frame SUV. You don't need to be getting sub 20 miles per gallon. You want something that's still decently light and easy to drive around town, but has the space when you need it. And I think this really strikes that nice balance of a little bit larger than a compact, but not quite so large as a 3-row midsize. My next pro happened the moment I got into this Nissan Murano. Opened the door, and I thought, oh, you know what? This is a really attractive interior. Between the two different tones of leather, the stitching, the use of materials, the layout, everything was really, really good. So not only does it look good, but it functions well. Also, we have a good amount of physical controls. They kept a small shift button layout here, which allows for more space in the center console. If we start it up, we see these lights appear. These are kind of haptic-y touch buttons built into this piece of wood for the climate control. I think that's very attractive and functional. The screens look good. Everything outside of this piano black is going to age nicely, and everything feels nice to touch. It's a good, soft, buttery leather. Very nice use of materials and design in here. And then the next pro that I noticed, the second thing, I should say the first thing when I sat down, is these seats. I mean, Nissan's been doing great seats for a long time, but holy cow, not only did I notice it when I first got into the Murano, but my wife, it was the first thing she mentioned when she got in. And Topher Drives back in Michigan has a Murano this week as well, and he mentioned that the seats are remarkably comfortable. So, very nice job on the seats, very nice job on the interior materials here in the Murano. My next pro on the Murano is the pricing and trim structure. First of all, I commend Nissan for keeping the trims simple. There's, if I'm not mistaken, an S, L, an SV, and a Platinum. So 3 trims, very few packages, if any, within those. Very easy to understand, okay, this is the Murano that I want, this is the one I'm going to get, this is the one on a dealer lot, this is what I can expect from it. Some of these vehicles we drive in, like the Mazdas, you've got so many different trims, packages within there, different offerings within all those trims. It gets way too confusing. And then the pricing is reasonable as well, about $50,000, maybe 52 or so for the one we're driving right now. And you can get into one with reasonable options and feature set for a little bit less than that also. So I do think the pricing is right for a vehicle that was entirely redesigned for the 25 model year. And I should also say, my last pro is the ride is quite good in here. It's a comfortable car. The way the suspension works and everything drives, and it feels proper for the type of vehicle and for the environment inside. Sometimes we get in cars that are very luxurious and calm in the interior, but then they don't drive in a fitting way. They drive kind of spiritedly, and the steering is quick and heavy, and it doesn't match the experience of the car. This doesn't feel so far off of something like that Lexus RX right there. It's just a nice to be in, comfortable ride. All right, let's see if I can sort of replicate a power situation here. So Okay, say we're cruising along, we're doing about 40, and then I'm like, oh snap, I gotta go. It takes a while. It takes a while for the downshift to happen, the turbo to build boost, the motor to get to the right situation, and then it's not very refined sounding either. So, wrapping up my week-long thoughts here on the Murano. I like the car. I do. I think Nissan did actually quite a bit right with it. It's comfortable, it's nice to be in, good amount of technology, good use of materials, it looks good both inside and out, the price is right. The only thing that kills it for me is this powertrain. And we're here in 2025. We've had more powerful engines, we've had more efficient powertrains, and more electrified options than ever before. EVs are becoming cheaper, hybrids are all over the market, and yet Nissan has stepped away from some of their hybrid offerings from the 2010s that we had, and it's just given us a relatively uninspired 2-liter turbo here with essentially just front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive as your options. Whereas I could go and get into something like the Hyundai Santa Fe or the Tucson, which both kind of straddle this vehicle in sizing, and get a hybrid powertrain that's much more refined and much more fuel efficient for similar pricing, or in the case of the Tucson, quite a bit less. I understand that is a smaller vehicle. And I'm not saying that Hyundai's the only one. I mean, there are plenty of manufacturers that'll give you even a mild hybrid. It doesn't even need to be a full dedicated hybrid powertrain. It could just be something like the 48-volt mild hybrids that we see in some of the more luxurious cars that give you smoother stop-start and give you a little bit of a fuel economy bump and help smooth out the driving experience. So it is a bit harder for me to recommend the Murano with this 2-liter turbo as opposed to a more efficient and more refined powertrain. But before we wrap things up, we gotta put it on the Daily Motor Leaderboard. 2025 Daily Motor Leaderboard current leaders: Hyundai Santa Fe, Jeep Gladiator, and Nissan's Armada, a car that I really think is the best Nissan in the last 20 years. Wow, Lincoln Nautilus is actually a decent competitor to this car that costs quite a bit more. I would probably have this over the Nautilus. This is where this is going. And I know this is near the bottom of the list, but that's only because we're still fairly early in the year and we've driven some really good cars so far this year. It's going 8th, right behind the Civic hatchback, above the Mazda CX-5. I even hesitate a bit putting it above the CX-5, but with the CX-5's refresh coming along, I think that's going to help it out a bunch. And hey, the CX-5 kind of suffers the same situation as the Murano here in just not having a particularly inspired powertrain. But at least that one, you've got two different options. You have the normal NA and then the turbo. So there it is, the new Nissan Murano. Very strong car compared to its outgoing 2024 version. And it's going to be really nice for some people, but I think Nissan can do just that much more to make it great. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the Murano, check the link below for our fuel economy review and the Bose sound system review. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.